Hi, my name is Joanne Martin. I am the Vice President of Retail Industry Strategy for JDA Software. For those of you who don't know JDA is a software company that provides end-to-end supply chain for retailers and manufacturers worldwide. I am thrilled to be here today to introduce Mark Weinstein today. He's the Senior Vice President and Global Head of Customer Engagement, Loyalty, and Partnerships with the Hilton brand. Hilton operates over 5,000 stores, 14 world-class brands, and is in 100 locations worldwide. Mark leads customer experience, strategic partnerships, CRM, and personalization, as well as the Hilton Honors loyalty program, which is award-winning guest loyalty program. So who better to talk to us about harnessing the power of loyalty than Mark? Please help me in welcoming Mark to the stage.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon. Seriously? Good afternoon. Can do this the easy way or the hard way. What I lack in competency, my title more than makes up for in length, so thanks for bearing with that introduction. As you've heard, loyalty is a big theme this morning and this afternoon as well. And so I want to spend a bit of time unpacking that, if you will, and go on the journey with you. Whether you call them mom, dad, brother, sister, friend, neighbor, grandma, aunt, uncle, we're all humans. And I would argue humans want two things in life and two things only: to love and to be loved. It's a pretty powerful word to throw around, and as somebody in business, to throw around a squishy metric like love, that's kind of brazen. In our industry, in your industry, we often call that loyalty. It's a term we use so often, I think we've gotten numb to the power of it, the sheer impact of what loyalty means. We add the word program, we talk about customers being loyal on a score, on a metric, but what the heck are we actually talking about? And I want to spend a bit of time with you today on that. You've heard this before today, but I would argue that in the head versus the heart always wins. Right? All of us building brands are living on this idea that we can take the actual value of something, the economic value, the quantifiable, how much should this thing cost, and wrap it up in experience and branding and engagement in such a way the perceived value is higher than the rational value. And you do all kinds of crazy things that you wouldn't otherwise do if you were a rational being. You cheer for your favorite team, perhaps it's the Wildcats, and they've had a major defeat. If an alien landed on this planet and heard you say the things you said after that game, they'd think you were nuts, right? You'd say, the coach was terrible, I can't believe they went for it on the fourth down, I'm never coming back again. The alien would go, okay, well, I guess we won't see you again. And you'd say, no, I'll be there again next weekend. That's the power of fandom. You take that to brands. You think about that I've got to have it need. When Apple or Amazon or Google or Samsung releases a new product, you don't even know what the heck it is, and you're queued up for it in line. Rational animals do not do that. You've never seen a penguin queuing up for some new technology, I promise. And we do it at home. We love those two-legged and four-legged friends in our house, even when they make a mess on the carpet. Hopefully the four-legged variety, not the two-legged. Suggest you reevaluate your relationship if you find yourself in that bucket. But I want to parse out something that gets conflated sometimes: satisfaction versus loyalty. You see, we measure satisfaction all the time. How happy were you with that presentation? You're rating that right now as we speak. How happy were you with that purchase? How much do you like our brand? The challenge is satisfaction is transactional. If your husband or wife tonight burns the lasagna in your house, you're going to walk out the door and never come back in again if you're just looking for satisfaction. But a relationship, loyalty, love is a two-way give and take, where you overinvest in that relationship and overlook the little things because it's a long-term relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, satisfaction may be how you start, but ultimately it leads to loyalty. And again, go home tonight, look that person in the eye and say, do you want them satisfied or do you want them loyal? But what I'm talking about is I can't live without you loyalty. This idea that you have to be part of my life, whether it's a thing, a brand, a friend, a family member, a pet, that you couldn't imagine life without them in your life. And when this happens, we start to do something very irrational, and actually our brains start to change. We stop using words like they and them, and we start using words like we and us. We won the game. Last time I checked, those four guys had nothing to do with what the heck is happening on TV. But they're going to take it just as personally, if not more so, than what's on the TV. And again, when that happens for a brand, think about how much power there is. Every morning, many of us get in our car and like a zombie go drive out of our way to pay a premium to stand in a line for that beloved mocha frappa latte thing when you can make a 5-cent cup of coffee in your house. That's irrational affinity. That's the power of loyalty. That is the power of love. And so I want to weave in our narrative a little bit around Hilton Honors, not to say that we're the best at this, not to say that we've mastered everything, but to take you on the same journey that I've been on with the company for the last 7.5 years. And I have to tell you, it's a little daunting when you get there and you're told that your founder's mission, his purpose, our vision, was to fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. What do? I fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. Right? Conrad Hilton believed almost 100 years ago we could make the world come closer together if you brought people together, that peace could be achieved through world travel. And so it's not about lodging, it's not about accommodation, it's not about hotels, it's about connecting people and bringing true hospitality to bear in the business of people serving people. And for us, that starts with 14 brands. But here's the important thing. You've heard loyalty programs talked about all day so far. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But if the local bakery said to you, we've got this great special, you buy 12 croissants, we'll give you the 13th one free, and you hated every single one of the first 12 croissants, that is not a very valuable proposition, is it? And so to be in the game, you've got to have a product, a brand that customers love. Loyalty connects the dots, but you've got to start with that brand. And then in our case, you add amazing locations, 5,300 hotels all across the world and growing. But most importantly in our case, in the business of people serving people, are 350,000 team members delivering heartfelt experiences every single guest, every single time, every single interaction. And so what happens is customers walk away saying they love Hilton Honors. They'll talk about the points, the free nights, the bottles of water, how they were treated. But what they really mean is how it made them feel. Know me, appreciate me, take care of me like a welcome guest. Those things are just symbolic gestures to drive to that emotional connection, that resonance that we're trying to achieve with all of our guests. So we talked about people, and if we do this right, we've connected with them. But I want to introduce you to Exhibit A, the rare endangered Homo sapien. And if you'll indulge me for just a minute, let's look at what's going on around this gentleman's world. Because experiences can be confusing. Right? Visitors this way and that way. Which way do you go? Caution, there was a family crossing. I don't even know what that is. They can be contradictory. Not a through street, this is the evacuation route. Good luck, let me know how that works out for you. Exit, but don't enter. Interesting, interesting. Here's the speed limit. Feel free to go either speed because they're both posted. Experiences are incomplete. This one I love. Why not just make the sign edges not sharp? Not an engineer, just play one on TV. They can be confusing. Free street parking. Here are 5 prices for the free street parking. Okay. Bottomless pit, 65 feet deep. Well, that's a disappointment. Looking at the bottom, it's right there. I know approximately how deep it is, 65 feet. They can be misleading. Judge for yourself what you're supposed to do with that one. This one, I don't really want to know what is in mind here. This one, I don't know if you could read this from back there. It says, with no commas, the old, weak, and pregnant. Now, there's a catch. If you can find yourself somebody who's old, weak, and pregnant at the same time, they can have that seat. I hope this is 2 separate things. And experiences can be unsatisfying. Here's a fast food restaurant promising if your food is not ready in 2 hours, good news, you just got yourself a free lo mein, right? I mean, that is not a good customer experience, and this is just a cruel joke. And that should be taken out back. Yeah. And so humans react, right? We're irrational, so we react. Drawbridge. Just following directions. Fall in line. Okay, here I go. Keep your valuables under your watch. This is what happens. And hug the curb when leaving. And sometimes we can just be real pains in the butt. So this is us as humans. And so we make fun of that, but really we're on a transformational journey like we've never seen before. I think it is fair to say we're in the most transformational time in history, at least since the Industrial Revolution, maybe if not longer. And there are some factual things driving this change that's affecting how we as consumers, how we as humans interact with the world around us. Three areas I want to focus on. The first, mobile technology. People are digitally connected. Write that down. I know you're shocked by that. Type it into your iPhone. People will check their phone on average 250 times per day. Power users, 900 times per day. Here's a scary one for you. There are more mobile phones on the face of the earth right now than toothbrushes. So if you're not sure, you better call them. It'll smell better than if you visit them in person. You layer on top of that this idea that we're always connected. People feel phantom vibrations from their phones not even being there. You then look at the world shrinking. In the next 10 years, 600 million more people will go outbound and travel the world. That's a 50% increase in just the next 10 years. So greater mobility, greater information, and at the same time, AI and automation are right in front of us. Current estimates show that 45% of all tasks being done by humans could be done right now, if we wanted to, by automation. Not saying we should, not saying we will, but could be done. And so again, more technology, the world is shrinking, and rapid technology acceleration. And so what happens is people are being pushed as brands further and further down to commoditize, to compete on price, to not be a relevant value add, but just be the lowest or the quickest or the most convenient of something, not a value add necessarily. And so what happens is competition comes in. Customers are more informed than ever. They can find the lowest price, right? Rule number one of marketing, you can always undercut somebody's price temporarily. It's a sugar high. You can boost the performance, and somebody will undercut you 3 minutes later. And so this pressure down, enabled by mobile and informed customers and increased competition, means that increasingly those who are not distinctly branded experiences will become commoditized. You'll lower your price a little bit. The experience will have to drop just a tiny little bit to make the margin stay where it was. You'll then have to cut the price because the experience wasn't as good. And down we go. And next thing you know, you're competing it to the bottom. But what's interesting is there are brands, and I will tell you, I'm not endorsing anybody or intentionally leaving anybody off this chart. There are some brands that have said, look, we are going to compete as premium products. And these can be in any category. By the way, I love to pick on the example, Chick-fil-A or Shake Shack. They're not offering dollar menus, right? They've just kind of sidestepped that whole space. They're not competing on price. They're competing on experience, on value. And value can be at the luxury end, it can be at the economy end, the budget end, anything in between. And so for us, with a lot of soul searching in this push towards commoditization, we have had to redefine who we are. And we have reaffirmed that we are not a platform. We don't just sell rooms. We're not a lodging company. We're not a travel company that sells airline tickets and cruises and camping experiences. We are a distinctly branded company that delivers consistently branded experiences through 14 brands across the world. And even in our economy segments, even in our budget segments, Hampton Inn, for example, is not going to be the cheapest in that category. We command a market premium because it means something more than just the sum of its parts. This is the power of loyalty. Now, Hilton Honors, we finished last year with 71 million Hilton Honors members. They make up about nearly 60% of all of our occupied rooms across the system. So it's a major driver. And what we realized was we were connecting really well through our loyalty program with frequent guests. It was a frequent guest program. So how could we be more valuable to all customers? Because part of commoditization is being intermediated, other people getting in between you and the customer. Now here's the problem with intermediation. It can be a very effective customer acquisition strategy. You have to watch the price, but it can be very effective. The long-term implication, though, is you don't get to know your customers. Who is buying your product? How do they feel about you? And you might think you're getting a great return on that investment, but maybe you're not. So here's an example. We would have customers that book through intermediaries, travel online sites, and other things like that, that we were getting 40 or 50 trips per year. We thought, my God, these are great travelers. And then you realize they're staying 60 more nights a year with our competition. Then you had a grandmother who takes their kids out on a family vacation every 3 to 5 years, and you get one trip every 3 years, and you go, that is a low-value customer. Except until you find out that she takes one trip every 3 years, and you're getting 100% of her wallet. But if you want to connect with them in a meaningful way, we had to change what we stood for. And so we went on a journey to change 3 things. To make it a club for all travelers, so everyone had a reason to get involved. Value. Reward schemes, loyalty programs, frequent guest programs were all about do this for 5 years, and in year 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, you'll cash in your points, you'll take a flight, you'll go to Disney World. If I'm only going to travel once in the next 3 years, that's not a very compelling value proposition. So we started giving customers more immediate reasons to connect with us directly. This is blocking and tackling. It is things like free Wi-Fi when you book directly with us on our websites and in our app. It's things like the best price when you engage with us instead of somebody else. These are little ways you're offering immediate returns back. Second, if you want people in your club, you've got to make it easy to join your club. This is not rocket science, but yet look around your world. How often are you backed up at a pharmacy-like company, I won't name names, while somebody's taking out a home mortgage in front of you joining the frequent guest program? If you want people in your club, you have to make it easy. And in our case, that meant being relevant in 22 languages in 105 countries across the world. And by the way, it's really easy to translate. That is not a hard thing to do. It's really hard to serve up relevant content in 105 countries. So if you have a customer join, you take the English form and you're showing a hotel in Chicago and you're putting it in Mandarin, that's not a very compelling narrative. And so rethinking the process to make it one click and taking all the information we know about you and porting it right into the enrollment form, that's been our focus. And lastly, if you want new customers, you have to change how you engage them. Some of this is really straightforward. This is personalization. We can get a 2 times return, for example, if we personalize the web experience, not shocking. But some of this is jargon. I mean, think about your business and how much jargon you use every single day. A hotel calls the thing that you pay for the room a rate. How many times have you walked into Macy's and said, what is the rate for that dress? Right, so we're turning off customers. The thing we slip under the door, that's called a folio in our business. Nobody calls it a folio, it's a receipt. So if you want to engage less frequent travelers, you don't alienate them by using jargon and slang and things that don't make it feel relevant. You need to be relevant to all customers at all times. So that's been our journey so far. But as you know, the world is changing again. Customer expectations are increasing. Things that today are delightful, that we find fascinating, that's a terrible photo, we should take it off the screen as fast as possible. Things that you find delightful today, tomorrow you take for granted. I was in Best Buy the other day and a 1-year-old was trying to pull on the screen to get it to resize on like a 65-inch television and almost fell on its head. Because kids understand technology and we were just grateful to have a bag phone, a flip phone, a car phone. But what's amazing is we've done a lot of research about why customers pick the hotel they're in. And here's the top 5. Number 1 was location, which makes a lot of sense. If you need to be in Tucson, it doesn't really help you to be in Orlando. That just doesn't really make a ton of sense. But the second most powerful driver for members of the guest program, the loyalty program, was the loyalty program itself. Look what it's above. It's above the price. It's above maybe even the quality. Maybe it's a brand you've never heard of. It's a brand new brand we're rolling out. Loyalty drives irrational behavior. Your colleagues are staying in one hotel, you're staying in another. All of you have a friend somewhere, maybe even in this room, who moved away from a city and still flies their old airline, which involves connecting 3 times everywhere you go. Some of you drive past 3 grocery stores because there's one that you love the most, or a gas station, or whatever it may be. That's the power of loyalty. It drives premiums. So as we see that change, that's a challenge. The second thing is everybody's investing. I mean, you can't turn your head without finding a loyalty program somewhere. Some of these companies don't even exist anymore, in all fairness, but I'm surprised the Girl Scouts don't have a frequent cookie buying program. Right? I mean, there are brands that don't need to incentivize behaviors launching rewards programs. It's overwhelming our consumers. And here's the thing I think is most jarring. Almost everyone in the room that works somewhere has a primary competitor that you think is your big competitor. I'm here to tell you to rethink that. Because what I know is most of our customers don't come to our hotel from a Marriott. But they did probably ride an Uber or a Lyft on the way in. They probably purchased something in a store somewhere using an app and having an experience there. They used a credit card, had some sort of experience with that, Apple Pay or the credit card itself. Those experiences imprint on your head and have a different expectation level by the time you walk into our hotels. And so our comp set, and for our Hilton Honors program, but also our hotels, is not our competition. It's all the things happening around you as a human, because that's what's driving your expectations. It's not good enough to just be good enough in your category. And for me, this is the biggest one. We know customers belong to a lot of programs. In our industry, they belong to 2.6. I'm not sure what brand is the 0.6. I hope it's not us. What that means is being in the wallet is not good enough. We've got to fight and earn our way to top a wallet. We've got to give you a reason every single time, every single corner, every single street to choose our hotel versus the hotel across the street. You get a false positive if you look at your roster. You say, oh, we have all these members. But are they staying with you, and are they giving you their full wallet? And so for us, as we went on this journey, we realized that we can only do so much quantitative research. One of my favorite quotes, you've probably heard it a million times, but I think it's great. Henry Ford said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said, faster horses. Consumers can't imagine what's not possible. Steve Jobs famously said, I did no research before I launched the iPad. How could people know they wanted it? And so for us, you get these false positives of things people want, and you have these negatives that you don't realize customers are asking for because they can't articulate it. So I'll give you an example with Hilton Honors. We launched 3 new benefits last year because we saw behaviors that people were getting frustrated with. So when you book a free night room, oftentimes it's like 50,000 points or 30,000 points. So if you have, let's say the room is 30,000 points, for example. I'll do simple math. If you have 29,000 points in your account, you know what that's worth to you? Goose egg, nothing. Which means you're just as likely to walk across the street and use our competitor than come with us again, because we haven't actually transacted with you, engaged with you, started that journey. So we launched a product called Points and Money, where we put a slider on the website and use any amount of points you want and any amount of money to combine for the room rate. So now 1,000 points or 2,000 points starts to unlock value and starts to create a sticky relationship. In our business, the most dangerous time is when your account has 0 points in it, because that means you're a free agent. And if you look at your account and you have a ton of points, but they're worth 0 points, that's just as bad. So that was the first thing we launched. The second thing we launched is that we kept seeing research that people were traveling more socially. They were booking in groups of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 rooms. They were booking houses, and they were booking suites and villas. And our members didn't have enough points in their accounts, so we launched for the first time ever the ability to transfer your points together to pool them for free. So 10 family and friends or enemies or anybody else you round up on the street can now put their points together. This is better for consumers, right, because now they can engage with us. It's good for us because now you're seeing our product. And on top of that, we're now activating your entire social network. Because grandma, who used to not care where they stayed, can now use her points to help fund your honeymoon. And now that once-in-a-lifetime trip, your whole family can come together and book a suite or a villa to enable that. And then we heard members saying, I don't necessarily need to travel as much. I travel a lot already. So we enabled their points on Amazon so that their points are as good as cash on Amazon.com. Which means every single day when they're on that site, they're seeing our logo, and the resonance of our points and our connection with them is driving that relationship forward. So that's a bit on the currency side, and that's one dimension. The second dimension has been our digital experience. And here's the secret about loyalty programs. If you can find things that don't have incremental transactional cost, you get a phenomenal ROI. What do I mean by that? Well, not technically a loyalty program. Think about Netflix. Netflix shoots an amazing show. They spend $1 billion creating it. Every net incremental customer they add is driving incremental profitable business and driving up the ROI. Now think about points programs or rebates. If you're giving 2% cash back, you can never scale out of that. And by the way, I'm not criticizing. We do the same thing with points. But it makes it harder to scale. And so the new currency is experience. How can you create a better experience? The second part of that challenge for us has been, when you look at hotel benefits or airline benefits, they've kind of been these weird add-ons, right? So we kind of give you more stuff to show our love. Here's some bottles of water. Here's some breakfast. Here's some coupon, whatever it may be. Why not just build a better experience from the start for your best customers? And so for our Hilton Honors members, we're unlocking the entire experience for them for the palm of their hands. So at all of our hotels, almost all of our hotels, you can check in digitally 24 hours in advance. This is important. We're removing the friction for travelers. The front desk experience you have? That is purely for us or for the brand. It is not for the consumer. No consumer woke up and said, I can't wait to go pay for my room and show identification. Think about an airport hotel. A plane lands and 30 of you are going to run to the front desk at the same time. Now we're allowing you to check it ahead of time. We know you. We know who you are. We're running algorithms on your security. We can check you in. Once you do that, you can actually allow the guest to pick the room they want. This was game-changing for us, right? For 100 some odd years, it's always been a one-way conversation. You need a room. We've got a room. We'll tell you where it is. Now we're partnering with Google Maps to say, pick whatever room you want. You like the Disney view? Pick the Disney view. You want the side away from the lake? Pick that one. You want it near the lake? Pick that room. We're showing you the best rooms, and we're enabling you to drive your own destiny. And by the way, I think this is another important trend. You don't have to always get the predictive analytics right. You have to serve up relevant choices to consumers and let them pick. So what some of you want today as a single business traveler might look very different than what you want when you have your family with you. And so why try to guess that? Why try to get that right and get it wrong or right? Why not give a relevant set of choices and empower you to tell us what you most need to make this trip valuable? Once you do that, you can actually unlock the door with the phone. So now in our hotels, you can actually take your phone right to the door and unlock the door. Useful, interesting. And then we added to that the ability to actually pin your favorite room, so when you came back to the same hotel, because here's the funny stat in our business, you either never come back to the hotel again, or you come back to the same hotel 70% of the time, again and again and again. So you're either a consultant that keeps going back to the same hotel, or you're a road warrior traveling or a vacationer traveling around the world. But if you like the hotel, why not pick the room you like so we can give it back to you again? Again, no fancy algorithm, just asking you what you liked and serving it back up to you. That's how delight is created. But what's interesting about this journey is that's the baseline. You know, I spend a lot of time with my retail colleagues, and what I hear a lot is, we know so much about our customers before they walk in the store. And we learn so much about them when they walk out the store. And in between, we have no relationship with the customer. We can't show them relevant offers, we can't change their behaviors, we can't remind them of products they need, we can't change the prices if necessary, we don't have a way to interact. And so what we did first was take out the friction of travel by putting those functionalities into the app. Now we're doing messaging. One of the stats we found with our customers was a significant portion of customers are what's called passive aggressive, whereby something small was bothering them, and they didn't want to bother the front desk, so they kind of just sat on it and sat on it and sat. There's a light bulb burned out somewhere, we didn't know that, and they just kind of, it bothered them every single night when they laid in bed looking at the light bulb. How was your checkout? How was your trip? Oh, great, perfect, as they checked out. And they go on TripAdvisor and say, this hotel was terrible. What we realize is people want to message us through the way they message their kids or their family. They want to do it digitally. And so through our app, you can message us, and within 30 minutes, we respond at the hotel, or we have our corporate office follow back up if the hotel doesn't catch it in the next 20 minutes. So again, two-way conversation. And now we're looking at how to retail and merchandise, because now that we've got the phone open, now we can help guide you around the property. So we can show you better rooms that you might want to buy, and you can decide if you want to buy it or not. We can make special offers depending on who you are. We can tell you one bar is crowded, go to the other bar. We can run specials. If that doesn't work, we need to actually pull you over there. But it opens up a dialogue, a conversation with our most loyal customers, so we can make the stay better. And by the way, they love it because it makes their stay better. The third component of our strategy has been to create once-in-a-lifetime experiences. We've been partnering with folks like Live Nation and McLaren Formula One. In this case, we took the band One Republic to Abbey Road Studios and invited 200 of our top Hilton Honors customers to use their points for this experience. Now, I don't know how to quantify the impact of this, as our CEO points out to me every budget season. But when I stand in the back of the room and I watch a father and a daughter reconnect after he's been on the road for 20 nights, or a husband and wife finally have date night after putting it off for a bunch of times, or a little girl hoisted on her dad's shoulders, skating in the front row to see her favorite band, we have connected in a way that no functional, rational benefits could possibly do. And in fact, we actually had, the HuffPost was there, and they said, look, it was an incredible venue. It was Abbey Road, incredible band, One Republic. But what struck the reporter was everywhere they went, people were talking about the enablement of it. Who made it possible? And it was Hilton. And so we rolled out these benefit changes. We've been rolling out additional benefit changes this year to incentivize customers to travel just a little bit more with us, give us a bit more of their wallet. And as a result, we got written up in a trade publication, which I bring up on the screen just to say that people are catching on to what we're doing. Right? We're acknowledging that no two customers are the same, that a relevant set of choices and options, the right number of choices, not too many, the right number of options makes it a better experience, a better relationship. And so that's the power of what we're doing. Now, our playbook is really simple. I'm going to put it out here for you all to see. You can write it down, you can copy it, and tweet it on the internet. We're looking for more customers, more engaged, more often. Really easy to say, really hard to do. But that's the strategy behind it. And when we do that, we do it in all the ways I described, rationally and functionally, but then also come back in and put delight in the process. Add value where customers find the most value. Give people relevant choices. That's where you empower the love to come into play. Now, as I wrap up, I want to do one thing, which is I wanted to give a little bit of advice. Because I've seen a number of articles written up about the next person launching a loyalty program, and it'll save the company. I thought, let's just unpack that just a little bit, because there are some times where that's spot on, and there are some times where that's probably not going to work. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, what does good look like? What would a successful customer relationship look like for my business? Would they come in more often? Would they spend more money? Would they buy premium products instead of the baseline products? What functional outcome would you see differently? This is not an emotional play. This is not, oh, they'll love our brand. No, I'm not talking about that. What behaviors would you want to see? What do your best customers look like? Because now we can go reverse engineer that. We can say, okay, well, here's what most customers do organically. Here's what you're trying to achieve. Here's what your best customers do. How do we fill the gap with behaviors and incentives that would cause other customers to go on that journey with you? What's the golden path? What is the best way to experience your brand? And how do we incentivize customers to do that? I think this question gets missed all too often. We'll launch a program, we'll have points, we'll give stuff away. And achieve what? How will you know you succeeded? The second is, what do I need to build? There are 3 things embedded in our loyalty program. And by the way, they can also be done separately. And again, I think we're conflating some terms sometimes and putting the 3 all together. Sometimes your question is, I need to capture more data. I don't know who my customers are. I don't know what they like. I don't know who they are. That's a data capture play. The second bucket, I want to change the experience for certain customers. Maybe they're high value, maybe they're a customer segment, whatever it may be. I want to do something different for my customers. So that's experience-based. Or do I want to incentivize behaviors that wouldn't otherwise happen? That's a currency play. So one's data, one's experiences, and one's points in currency. You don't have to have all 3. Now, when you get the order wrong, it can cause some challenges for you. If you're delivering value but not capturing the data, I'm not sure that's a solid strategy. But the solution to knowing your customers is not always to give away points and rewards and bonuses and stars and coupons and stickers. That's not always the right answer. And then lastly, am I set up for success? As I mentioned earlier, a loyalty program is not going to save a brand that people don't like. It's not going to solve for an experience that's painful and intolerable. It's not going to solve for a brand that doesn't feel relevant and current and modern and responsive to my needs. And so before you start to layer one in, have I earned the right to have a deeper relationship with our customer? Have I delivered the table stakes? Have I delivered the goods, products that people want, services that people need, that they crave, that they desire? Have I taken care of the friction, taken all the friction out, all the annoying points that are along the customer journey? If you haven't, I would question whether you're ready to launch something on top of that, because you're going to pour a ton of money in the top and it's going to go right out the bottom. Second, do customers perceive what you're doing as adding value? This has to pass the will your mom understand what you're talking about test, right? We get so tangled up in our underwear sometimes internally that we're talking about, well, we're going to give this, then we're going to do this, and we're going to have the associates do that, and then we're going to, and we take a step back, people are like, what the heck is that? And so you're consuming either actual hard cost value, dollars, or opportunity cost, something else you could be doing, or experiential, you're bastardizing the experience, and you think you're achieving this great ta-da moment, and customers don't find it useful. Now here's the best part. If you can find something with a low actual cost and a high perceived cost, that's like the holy grail. But the third one, and I won't reference any names, but you're seeing a lot about coalition programs, and some of them are not succeeding, some of them are going away. And I think this is the root problem aside from the data. Number one is, are you getting the data back? But number two, this last point here, does what you're giving away accrete value back to you? Think about this. If a customer is able to find 2% cash back anywhere they go, or get some sort of currency for every purchase they make online, or whatever it may be, what you're going to find is that they're delighted when you ask them in the research, oh, I like it, but they're just shopping around. They're doing the behavior they're going to do already. You're paying a cost of the margin, and they're not associating any of the delight back to you. So it's your cost with no delight accreted back to you. I think those are some of the pitfalls you can fall into for this rush to save everything with loyalty. Now, that being said, it is a powerful driver. We heard about this earlier. Sometimes the most obvious solution is right in front of you. Right? We're overthinking it, and there's the solution right there. Just kind of step outside the bin on the left, and you'll be just fine. But here's the cat staring down the solution. And so here's what I would argue, and you've heard this from a number of my colleagues today. Customer acquisition is a part of our business. Finding that first relationship, that lust, that love, that excitement at first. You can do that, and you can prop it up inorganically with all the spend you possibly can afford to drain your balance sheet. And you can get a sugar high. You can drive this quarter, you can drive next quarter, you can drive the quarter after that. But the goal is to find irrational ways to connect with your customers, to connect with travelers in our case, to connect with shoppers, whatever it may be, so that you invest now to form a lifelong relationship. Because when you do that, when you transcend the transactional and just satisfaction one after another, but form loyalty or love, that's where the magic starts to happen and the returns start to come in, both tangibly, bringing the cash register, but also the affinity and the advocacy that comes from your customers. That's how you generate love. Thank you.